During 2024 Christmas, Pope Francis has performed a ritual of opening 5 significant portals in Vatican, and you have probably heard all sort of stories about it, including misconceptions from social and mainstream media, but nobody seems to mention this significant part. The ancient Roman pagans living in Vatican had rituals surrounding opening doors and portals, and those rituals have intriguing parallels with the Catholic tradition of the Pope opening the Holy Door during Jubilee years. Both practices symbolize transitions and spiritual renewal, and in ancient tradition those door portals were guarded by demonic figures, letting through other spiritual beings at the time of their opening. All of this has taken place in Vatican, a place of many secrets and conspiracies. For instance, the Vatican Apostolic Archives, formerly known as the Vatican Secret Archives, is one of the most mysterious and secure repositories in the world. It holds over 85 kilometers of shelving with documents spanning over 1,200 years. What information do they hold or hide in there? They contain all sort of historical documents not accessible to anyone. The archives were closed to outsiders. Even today, only qualified researchers can access specific documents, and browsing is strictly prohibited. Rumors suggest the archives may contain evidence of extraterrestrial life or suppressed documents about Christianity's origins. Overall, the Vatican has been at the center of numerous controversies over the years, ranging from financial scandals to historical secrecy.
Is the Vatican keeping secret?
For the entire time that they've existed, they've collected manuscripts and relics and items from either campaigns or crusades, not only for their own research and to support their ideas, but also to prevent anything coming out, because they need to control the information around biblical issues and the biblical dogma. They can't allow alternative views to become public, become disseminated.
What kind of things exactly are you talking about?
In terms of documentation, they've got 52 miles of shelving of books and manuscripts alone. So that will be everything from early first century fragments to potentially entire alternative gospels.
And why would that be damaging to the Catholic Church?
Because there's a potential for alternative views to emerge. There were lots of different books originally that were set to go in the Bible, and it was only through a process of politics mainly that the final books were chosen. There are also ideas that there's a book of Q that academics have termed a book that would have been the source material for the main Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, because the main Gospels were written long after the time of Christ. So if they've got something like a book of Q, that would undermine everything else.
But I want to point out, where does the name Vatican even come from? Well, the name Vatican likely originates from the Etruscan word Vatica or Vaticum, referring to a settlement in the area known as Ager Vaticanus, which means Vatican territory in Latin. Some theories connect it to the Etruscan goddess Vatica, associated with the underworld. Vatica was an Etruscan goddess connected with the underworld and death. She was believed to be the guardian of the dead, watching over those who had passed away. According to some interpretations, her duties included caring for the deceased, symbolizing her role as a protector of the afterlife. She is sometimes depicted holding a snake, a common symbol of death and rebirth in ancient cultures. Interestingly, the area of Vatican was originally an Etruscan necropolis, a cemetery outside the ancient city of Rome. Etruscans were pagans, practicing a polytheistic religion deeply rooted in nature, divination, and rituals. Their beliefs were characterized by an intimate connection with the divine, where gods communicated through natural phenomena and omens. Priests like haruspices interpreted these signs to guide decisions in life. The Etruscans lived in central Italy before Rome's rise, placed significant emphasis on the afterlife. They built large necropolises, cemeteries outside their cities, reflecting their beliefs in a continued existence after death. Vatica was associated with these burial sites, particularly one on a hill that later became Vatican Hill. Etruscan religion was deeply tied to divination and interpreting omens, with gods and goddesses often linked to specific aspects of life and death. Vatica's role as a guardian of the dead highlights the Etruscans' reverence for their ancestors and their belief in an active spiritual realm. Etruscan portals, particularly city gates and tomb entrances, were significant architectural features that showcased the advanced engineering and artistic skills of the Etruscan civilization. Etruscan tombs often featured long entrance tunnels, dromoi, leading to burial chambers. These portals were sometimes elaborately carved or painted, reflecting beliefs in the afterlife and serving as thresholds between the worlds of the living and the dead. Portals were not just functional but also spiritual, marking transitions whether into a city or the afterlife. Their design often incorporated religious or cultural motifs tied to Etruscan beliefs. The Etruscan underworld was filled with terrifying mythological figures that embodied death and punishment. Tuchulcha, a grotesque demon with a horrifying appearance, an eagle's beak, donkey ears, snake hair, and a monstrous face. He was responsible for punishing souls who misbehaved during life. Charun, a blue-skinned demon covered in snakes, carrying a hammer, he threatened souls with violence and guided them to the underworld, often depicted with boar's tusks or a vulture's beak. Orcus, the god of the underworld who punished those who broke promises. He was described as a large, bearded giant who would forcibly drag men into the underworld and imprison them. Mania, a dark goddess associated with the dead and undead, who was historically linked to child sacrifices during the Lauralia festival. The Etruscan afterlife was a nightmarish realm populated by monstrous beings, reflecting their complex and brutal spiritual beliefs about death and punishment. Several Etruscan underworld creatures and deities are depicted in surviving paintings and sculptures, particularly in tombs and funerary art. Tomb of Orcus, Tarquinia. This tomb features the only known depiction of Tuchulcha. The murals also include Charun, the blue-skinned psychopomp guarding the entrance to the underworld. Tomb of the Blue Demons, Tarquinia. This tomb depicts grotesque blue and black-skinned demons, including Charun and other underworld figures holding snakes, symbolizing death and chaos. Tomb of the Infernal Chariot, Sartino. A unique mural shows a demon driving a chariot pulled by lions and griffins, leading the deceased into the afterlife. This scene is one of the most vivid depictions of Etruscan beliefs about the journey to the underworld. Campana plaques, Cervateri. These terracotta plaques depict Charun with his signature mallet, blue decaying skin, and hunting boots, alongside his female counterpart, Vanth, who carries a torch to guide souls through the darkness. Etruscan rituals involving doors and portals were deeply symbolic, representing transitions between the living world and the afterlife. These rituals often centered around tomb entrances, which were seen as thresholds to the underworld. Doors in Etruscan tombs, such as those in Tarquinia and Orvieto, symbolized the passage from life to death. They were often carved into rock or painted, resembling house facades to signify the deceased's eternal home. Figures like Kulsu and Vanth were depicted near these doors in tomb art. Kulsu was believed to open and guard the gates to the underworld, while Vanth guided souls on their journey. Some rituals suggested that these doors could open temporarily for spirits to return to the tomb or interact with the living during specific ceremonies. The opening of symbolic doors marked the deceased's journey into the underworld. Tomb murals often depicted feasts near these doors, symbolizing a connection between the living and the dead. The Catholic tradition of opening holy doors during Jubilee years has its roots in the 15th century and is explained as a spiritual passage from sin to grace. The practice began in 1423 when Pope Martin V opened the Holy Door at the Basilica of St. John Latran during a Jubilee year. This act was later expanded by Pope Alexander VI. The ritual involves the Pope striking the sealed door with a silver hammer, symbolizing the removal of barriers. While there is similarity connection to earlier pagan practices like Etruscan rituals involving portals, the Catholic ritual evolved uniquely within Christian theology, although it had nothing to do with Christianity origins. Doors symbolize the crossing between worlds, physical, spiritual, or emotional. Opening a door in rituals often signifies moving from one state of being to another, such as life to death. Deities like Hecate, guardian of crossroads, and Janus, Roman god of doorways and transitions, are invoked in rituals involving doors. The month of January is named after Janus, highlighting his enduring influence on timekeeping. Interesting fact: the most famous shrine dedicated to Janus was the Janus Geminis in the Roman Forum. Its doors were kept open during wartime and closed during peace, symbolizing the state of Rome, and although it is disputed, some theories would argue a connection between Janus and Christian's John, and as we know, John is connected to doors and portals too, just a coincidence. John carries themes of transition and spiritual entry into a new covenant. During the opening of the Holy Door by the Pope, several verses from the Gospel of John and other biblical references are invoked. For example, John 10:7, I am the door. If anyone enters by me, he will be saved. And lastly, the first door opened by a pope in this ritual was the door of Basilica, named after who? Of nobody else but Saint John. Guardians or spirits associated with thresholds are believed to regulate access to realms or energies during rituals. Rituals involving physical or symbolic doors may include lighting candles, using skeleton keys, and reciting invocations to unlock paths forward. Pope has used a specific hammer, carries deep symbolic meaning. Historically, the Pope would strike the brick wall sealing the holy door 3 times with a silver hammer. The hammer itself represents the Pope's authority given by God to break down walls. Pope Francis opened 5 significant portals in the Vatican, sparking intrigue and conspiracies, but few recognize the ancient Roman pagan rituals surrounding doorways that symbolize transitions and spiritual renewal. Just as Etruscan beliefs featured demonic guardians at these thresholds, the Pope's act invites us to explore deeper meanings of passageways between realms. What secrets lie within the Vatican? What do you think? Make sure to comment below.